using a shaft, but as you can hear I've still got vibration here on this piece. The gearbox is running good, but let me turn it off next. You'll soon see what the problem is. The universal joints have so much slack in them, and they were brand new, that I think that's its problem. It's this side's great, but this side isn't. Now I'm going to try and I'm going to do another experiment later and shorten the shaft to see if that gets rid of that last bit of vibration, because I'm not sure, like I say, if the shaft's got a bend in it or what. But if I bring it up to here, because I've got loads of this shaft in, this stuff here, because it's keyed shaft, so I can just cut a piece off this one and it's not too bad. I think that was only about 20 bucks for a piece of keyed shaft. I was at JP's yesterday, we were discussing this, and we came up with this idea, but we adapted something very important. And I didn't realise this at the time. On the other test bench I was using a piece of axle shaft which is 10 spline, which is the same size as this bit here. But what I didn't realise was it wasn't going in far enough. You see in there? See, there's a recess where the spline is. So that would only go up to there. That's when your oil seal was running. But it wouldn't go any further because the splines on here run off into a tape, where they've been machined. On the actual shaft of the transmission, the splines there's an undercut, so the splines are actually parallel. So that's how I based my length, because I just pushed this shaft into the gearbox and pushed this collar up to the end. So that meant it wasn't running far enough. Was that the cause of the vibrations and the noise? Maybe, but what I had in stock was a brand new LT77 Suffix G gearbox shaft. This has been on my shelf for about 10 years, brand new. I bought it by mistake because I wanted a Suffix H, and I put the wrong bloody thing down, wrong number. Anyway, took it to JP, and I cut it off here with just a slitting stone, because he couldn't cut through this with his lathe because it was too long. And what we did was we modified the shaft and turned it down so it was 1 inch and put a keyway in. Now by turning it down to 1 inch we managed to break through the hardness of the shaft and managed to put a keyway in, a 1/4 inch keyway, so that we could drive this contraption here. The good thing about this is, and there's something I wanted to do but I never realised, was the splines in here are sort of offset. So there's less spline in here than in here. So if I put my fingers in, the spline is from there to there. Alright, it's about from there to there. So that edge to this edge here. What we did was we made it so that the shaft, the spline, would go right up to this end here. So this shaft now is really nicely supported by the 2 bearings here. That's good. You know, that's really nice. It's supported there. So that's got rid of a lot of vibrations, and it was a mistake on my part, I will admit. But thinking about it, I wonder if I could go back to that contraption and use the shaft in here to make things better. I don't know. But anyway, it's working. The box is warm. What I'm really looking for though is a 220 volt motor, a 3-phase 20. If anybody's got one in United States or Canada, doesn't matter even if it's old, as long as it works, because then I can get a variable speed drive, and that means that from 220 single phase electric I can I can turn that into a 220 3-phase and have speed control and have a reverse function on it as well. I've seen one, it's only about 150 bucks for the actual machine. It's just trying to find a motor, because here in Canada we have the gracious system of 600 volts 3-phase, and the United States is 480 volts 3-phase, but 220 do exist. Now I have seen them down in the States and they've been really cheap. You know, you can pick one up for about $150 and, you know, for a motor, because not many people want them. But they want about 450 US shipping by eBay's global shipping program, which is way too much. So I'm on the right track. But let me experiment now to cut the shaft down. I might just cut it down to about here, because all I've got to do is just undo the screws and move it forward, and that was the reason why we did it in wood rather than anything in metal. Questions have been asked why I'm doing this. Well, if I'm going to rebuild a transfer case, and I've got about 5 of them here to do and test, well, I've already I've finished 5 of them, but if I'm going to send them out, I don't want them coming back saying, oh, it's broken or it's making a noise. I want to run them up with oil in and then flush them out, so that there's any particles or anything inside them can get washed out, and then they're nice and clean, because I can hang them up off the winch here and let them drain quite happily, really. Another thing somebody mentioned about putting rubber mountings on. Yes, rubber mountings will help, and I've actually seen the ones that I want. I was even thinking about using Defender 2.5 engine mounts, because they're nice big round ones. I might actually get some of them because they're cheap as chips, and mount the motor here on a metal frame with rubber mountings. I think that'll work. I think that'll work really well. But I'm not going to do that until I get a better motor. Honestly, I don't want to do that, because there's constant demand for these transfer cases, because they're so expensive to get from the UK now. I think Ashcraft's charged £350 just for shipping to Canada, and of course, because there's a car charge, because you can't send the old one back because it'd be another £350 plus duties and taxes and etc, all handling charges back to the UK, so they charge £310 car charge. So that's £360 down the Swanee. Wait a minute, it's 660 pounds down the Swanee, which can go to get in the box fixed here. And if I can be satisfied and test it and make sure it's running, all the better, all the better. So let's see how we can do that, because I'd much prefer to do these now, and gearboxes and maybe engines, because like I said, the used stuff you're taking a gamble with. And the nice thing too is I can run a used box up and find out what's wrong with it before we strip it down, because sometimes bearings and things like this aren't too bad. It's just wants re-shimming and things like this, or maybe it's pouring oil out of the intermediate shaft. Who knows? Anyway, that's just a little update. Hope you like that. It's going to get better. I might come back later and cut this, show you what it's like with the shaft cut down. Step by step we're getting there. Sounds a lot better now, but there's still vibration on the shaft. I have to do universal joints just to take up any like discrepancy. Putting a full shaft on wouldn't be a very good idea. But it's certainly a lot quieter than Mark 1. But I'll show you what I did. Yeah, you see that? If I could get tight universal joints, it would be a lot better. And I'm sure they exist somewhere. If anybody's got a used pair, 1-inch shaft, I'd be grateful. I fastened a hose clip around here, and I tried the motor on and off and on and off, and this seems to be the sort of sweet spot. This is an old trick when we used to balance prop shafts. Put a load of hose clips on it and find out where the heavy point was. that seems to be okay for now. So there's something not quite right there, but for now it works. Okay, I'm kind of happy with that. The box is nice and warm, so that's it. What I'll do next, I've got another 4 of them to test today. I'll end up doing the finned ones that's over on the bench over there, get that one cleaned up and tidied up, and test them all and make sure they're alright. Yeah, that's good. So this has been on for about half an hour. I've left all my test equipment upstairs, completely forgot it, but there's no leaks or anything like that. I did have to change the oil seal at the input side because with the other bearings they got so hot that they melted the seal. So that's it. But like I said, there's still room for improvement. See ya.